Hey everyone, it's Madison from PH Doodling. I'm excited today to share with you my February 2021 bullet journal setup. I can't believe January is almost over and we're already moving on to the second month of 2021. I don't know about you, but that time sure flew by. This month I'm so excited to share my theme, which is Paris. This is a theme that I've had picked out a while for this month and I was so excited to finally be able to create it. For my cover page, I knew I wanted to do a view looking out of a window onto the Paris skyline. I wanted to have the Eiffel Tower in there, and then the village kind of below of kind of some French houses looking out from like a balcony or a window in a home. So I first started by sketching this out. I'm starting with my Micron plastic nib tip pen to go ahead and outline the doodles that I've already drawn on here. I first started outlining the window just because that was kind of like my border, and so I wanted to get that done to make sure that everything else kind of fit inside my window. The inspiration for this theme came from my general attraction to the city of Paris. I have not had the chance to visit yet, but hope one day that I will be able to. I've always wanted to be able to see the Eiffel Tower. It's just very interesting and fascinating to me, and I love the French culture, and so hopefully one day I'll be able to visit. As I'm finishing up the final touches here on the Eiffel Tower, I also decided to kind of draw like a metal gate or railing on my balcony, kind of looking out of my window. Finally, I'm using my Tombow heart tip pen to letter the month February down below. This is one of my favorite pens to do calligraphy with. Moving on now to the next step, which is adding color. I chose to do a mix of pinks and blues for my color palette this month. To start here, I'm filling in the colors of the French flag, and then next I'm going in and adding some trees in the background. I didn't actually draw the outline shapes of the trees. I kind of just went in and added in blobs of color, and then used my Micron tip to kind of add some squiggles to mimic the looks of leaves, and I really like how it turned out. Finally, you can see I'm adding in the coloring of the houses. I love the colors that I chose. I really think the pinks and blues complement each other well and kind of just go with the overall vibe I was hoping for with this Paris theme. I didn't really know how to draw the Eiffel Tower when I started this spread, but I learned, and it really wasn't too difficult. I'm hoping to do kind of a how to doodle Eiffel Tower in one of my spreads this month, so be sure to check that out. I'm adding just kind of the last finishing touches for the coloring on this page. I decided to kind of draw a road at the base of my window viewing to kind of mimic the whole landscape. I couldn't quite decide how I wanted to draw the bricks that I wanted to do on my background, so I kind of left that and decided to move on to my monthly overview calendar and then come back when I kind of could make my decision about what I wanted to do. So I'm starting here again with my Micron pen and outlining the doodles on this monthly overview page. I kind of wanted it to look like the storefront of a pastry shop or a bakery. So I made my monthly calendar view kind of like the window pane of the building and put a fun awning and a sign and a couple of table and chairs outside like you would typically see on a Parisian street. After I finished outlining the doodles on my monthly calendar overview, I finally decided how I was going to kind of draw the bricks behind my window pane on my cover page. You can lightly see in the background that I went ahead and kind of sketched out the rows where I wanted to draw my bricks, and so I decided to take my light gray in the Tombow markers and just draw the bricks within each of those squares, leaving a slight, sliver of white between each of the spaces. I debated doing this a couple different ways, but I decided this was kind of the effect that I wanted. I just wanted a light background color to mimic the look of a brick building. I really like how it turned out. It was really pretty easy to do because I sketched out all those lines ahead of time. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out, but after I did that I realized I needed to kind of fill in the rest of my window pane just to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. So you can see I'm going and taking my dark gray and filling in the kind of railing that I put on my balcony. And then I'll go ahead and also add in a blue for the sky color just to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. I usually don't like coloring like the entire page, but for this spread I really think it just kind of worked. And then I'm finally coloring in the ground there a little bit with some brown. And there you have my completed cover page. I love how it turned out, and it captures everything that I was hoping for this Paris theme. Alright, now that I've finished my cover page, back to my monthly calendar overview. I am starting here now adding in the dates and days of the week on my monthly calendar. I just want to take a moment to make you appreciate that the calendar this month for February is indeed a perfect rectangle, and so it worked perfectly for kind of the window pane on my bakery. I'm using my color palettes, mostly of the pinks, to kind of color in this spread. I really love how it's turning out. Pink is one of my favorite colors, so I was really excited to use all of my pink markers for this spread. I didn't want to have the entire background also be brick because I thought it would be kind of too much with my cover page, so I kind of decided to do kind of a gradient effect across that spread to kind of tie it in together. And the final touch to complete this spread is actually lettering in the word pastry in French, kind of as the shop sign for this bakery window front. And that's really the final finishing touch on my monthly calendar overview. I really love how these two pages turned out. They were exactly what I was envisioning when I picked this Paris theme. I hope you like them as well, and I'm excited to show you the other fun spreads that I have created for this month. Alright, now moving on to my next spread, which is going to be my trackers. This month I decided to do a mood and habit tracker. These are the two that I have really routinely incorporated into my bullet journal setup, and I really find them useful to reflect and keep track of things throughout the month. I'll first start with my mood tracker. I decided to do this bicycle with hearts coming out of the basket, where there's a heart for each day, and I will color it in with a color that corresponds to the mood that I'm feeling that day. I really like using a mood tracker. It helps me just kind of reflect on my day and realize, all the good and positive things that may have happened that day, and also realizing that not every day can be great, but we always have to just find the little things to look forward to. Throughout this theme, I also decided to incorporate some roses and leaf patterns. You can see I've drawn those there up in the top right and left hand corners. I just thought it kind of tied into the overall Paris theme. Now I'm adding coloring for just the rest of this spread. I decided to do the bike blue to kind of bring in the blue tones because I knew I was going to use a lot of the pinks and reds as my key to color in all the hearts flowing out of the basket. Typically for my key, I usually choose 4 colors just because if I have too many, I often get overwhelmed. And like I mentioned, I picked pinks and reds for those to fill out the hearts throughout the month. I can't wait to see what this looks like at the end of the month. Now moving on to my habit tracker. At the bottom of my habit tracker, I decided to draw some mannequins with some dresses. I kind of thought that tied into my overall Paris theme. I had a lot of fun creating and designing these and adding fun patterns to them as well. To actually track my habits, I like to track them individually, so I actually write out each day of the month for each of those habits, and then when I complete a habit, I will actually go in and add a dot of color on the date that I complete that habit. I really like this visual representation and having each habit separate so that I know how consistently I am performing those habits. This is just the best way that I have found to track my habits throughout the month. Finally, I'm going in and adding colors onto my dresses that I designed at the bottom. I had a lot of fun with this. I'm not typically into drawing clothes, but I think they turned out pretty cute, and I was pretty happy with the overall look. I'm excited to fill out both of these trackers throughout the month of February, and I can't wait to show you what they look like. Now moving on to the next spread of my monthly setup, which is my content tracker. When I do this spread, I usually like to do a quote next to my content tracker, just so I have something fun to look at as I'm using my setup throughout the month. I'm starting here with my quote page, and the quote I chose was, "Paris is always a good idea," by Audrey Hepburn. I decided to do this quote because I thought it would be fun to draw the Eiffel Tower in place of the A. It's simple, but I really think it turned out cute, and I'm excited to look at it throughout the entire month. For the finishing touch, I did just take my Micron pen and added a couple little sparkles and dots throughout the quote page just to kind of bring it all together. Now I'm moving on to my content tracker. This is what I use to schedule my Instagram and YouTube posts throughout the month. I decided to do a cute little metro lantern sign that you would typically see on the street in France. next to the space that I actually use to plan my content in. A new thing that I added this month was down at the bottom. I just added a few little lines to track my growth on Instagram and YouTube. I know I've seen a lot of other people do this, and I thought it would be a good thing to incorporate just so I can see the growth and progress that my account is making throughout the month. I'm using my light gray marker to go ahead and add in just a highlight on every other line. I like to do this just so it separates it and helps me kind of keep track of the days a little easier. And I've added the dates and days of the week, and this will be great to use to plan all my posts for all my lovely followers. Now moving on to my final spread setup for this video, which is my 2 lines a day. This is something new that I started last month, and I really enjoyed using it as a space to reflect on the day, kind of as a short little form of journaling. I have not really been able to keep up with a journal, so I figured this is something a little more tangible for me to do, to just kind of write down a quick summary of the day. I used a lot of these fun little leaf and floral doodles around the outside just to kind of add and tie in my theme. I took my Tombow marker and went ahead and added each date. And then finally I took my pinks and colored in every other couple lines just to kind of provide some separation and add a little bit more color to my overall spread. I typically do this in the evening just to kind of write a quick little summary of something that happened that day, just as a sort of journal and memory keeping. I really have enjoyed this and definitely am going to continue to incorporate it. I also really love how those 2 pinks turned out on the page. Pink is, like I said, my favorite color, so it was so much fun to use all of these fun colors. The final step is me just going in and coloring all of those fun floral and leaf doodles that I added. My favorite doodle from this page was the little envelope that I did on the upper right hand side where I had those sprigs of leaves and flowers coming out. I went in and used my Muji pen just to write the day of the week to help me keep track when I'm filling this out to finish out this spread. Now that we've completed this spread, let's go ahead and take a quick flip through for my complete February 2021 setup. I had so much fun with this Paris theme. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe below so you can get notifications about future videos that I post. I hope this video brings you some inspiration for your own bullet journal setup. I love being able to share my creativity with you. Thank you so much for watching. Happy doodling!